Well, I just got the notice that the session's being recorded, so I'm going to go ahead with my opening remarks. I just want to welcome everyone to the third edition of Cooking with Dr. Singh. It's great to see you all. I'm Tammy Morrison from the North Bay Regional Health Center Foundation, and thank you for joining us. Proceeds from today's class are supporting surgical care in the operating rooms at North Bay Regional Health Center. I'm thrilled that over 100 people are registered for this evening's cooking class, and together you've raised more than $7,000, which is being generously matched by Dr. Singh. Thank you, Dr. Singh. Over the last year, this cooking class series has raised more than $45,000, supporting several areas of care, including regional Aboriginal mental health services, patient clothing, and surgical care. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Singh. I also want to give a little extra quick shout out and thank you to Dave's Freshco for donating a few gift cards that were awarded as prizes, and Rebuilt Resources for their generous donation towards this evening's class. Back for his encore performance, it's my pleasure to hand you over to Dr. Singh. Have fun, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for the introduction, Tammy. Very appreciative of the participation and donations for a good cause. It's close to my heart to be raising money for surgical care. So I'm glad all of you guys have joined, and this should be a fun class. It's about Indian appetizers and good for the summertime. Make some quick Indian appetizers. So we have three appetizers we're going to make tonight or this evening. One is samosas. Traditionally, it's done in a dough outer shell, but tonight we're going to do a phyllo pastry, which is lighter and probably less calories, and hence I use it. And then a couple of other things are pakora, which is like a Asian tempura, basically, but Indian version. And then the third one is basically like a potato fritter, and typically we use chickpea flour to batter this. So I hope everybody has their ovens heating up, their oil heating up. I'm going to switch my camera so I can show you some of the prep. So everybody needs a baking sheet. Hopefully everybody has one, and my oil's heating up as well. So start it on high heat, and once the batter, put a little batter in it to test it, and if it floats to the top, then turn it down to medium-high, basically. I have coated the pan with a bit of olive oil, just to coat it a bit. This is your mixture for your pakoras, or Indian version of the tempura. Okay. This is my batter. So the consistency, you can see the consistency should be almost like a pancake kind of consistency. So I'm going to pour that into the vegetable mix. I've set some aside for the potato fritter, or aloo tikki we call it. So we'll use that later. So just mix that up and just set it aside. And we'll get to that after I show you the phyllo samosas. That's what it should look like, basically, sort of a light coat, and the batter thick enough to stick, but not too thin that it doesn't really stick to the vegetables. So I'm gonna set that aside for now.
Is it just the red onion in this mix?
No, you can use red onion, white onion, you can use whatever onion you want, but red onion has a bit of flavor. And the white onion certainly is commonly used. So it doesn't matter which onion you use, but I chose red onion and white onion. So this is the potato mixture, okay? This will be for the phyllo samosas. We're going to use a tablespoon to kind of do the filling. I've set a cup or two aside for the potato fritter, or aloo tikki we call it. And I've also set aside a bit of batter as well for the aloo tikki. So I'm going to set that aside, and we'll start with the phyllo samosas first. Any questions so far?
How much oil should we have going?
For the frying,
Yeah,
probably a 2 to 3 inch depth of oil.
awesome, thanks.
And if it gets too hot, you can take it off the burner for now while we make the phyllo samosas. Any other questions? Good. So here's my phyllo. Open this up. I clean my counter off really well. I don't need to put anything underneath it. So you're going to unravel the phyllo. A friend in medical school introduced me to phyllo because she made spanakoppitas, and since then I've been using phyllo quite a bit. I also have a little bowl of oil with a little brush that I'm going to brush the phyllo with. It helps it kind of bake better in that sense. So I hope everybody got the diagram about folding the phyllo. So what we're going to do is take one sheet. Sometimes it sticks together. So you're going to fold it once. You're going to fold it again. So you get sort of a long rectangle. Okay. As you put it crossways like this, I'll brush it with a bit of olive oil. And I'll use about a heaping tablespoon of filling. I'll put it right there. Everybody good up to this point? The next step, this is going to be a bit opposite to what you see, but I'm going to take the top outer corner, fold it down so it creates like a little triangle. I'll just show you from above. So it kind of forms a little triangle. Yeah. Once you've done that, I'm going to flip it over this way. And it keeps that triangle shape. Flip it up. Keeps that triangle shape. Flip it over once more. And then fold the last corner up.
When people are asking if you can do it again, it's free.
For sure. And I put a bit of oil on it again. And then I just set it in the pan like this.
Can you do that again? I totally missed it. I'm having bad internet connection.
Yeah, for sure I can.
Thank
I
you.
was gonna do several actually. So,
Okay, I'll get it.
so ready? So you take one phyllo sheet, you fold it once, you fold it again, and then I set it on an angle like this. I'll brush it a bit with olive oil. And then I'm going to take a heaping tablespoon of the filling, kind of put it on the one end of it. So take the outer corner, top corner. You're kind of going to fold it down so it creates a triangle. You might have to sort of adjust the filling a bit. So you create a triangle like that. Then you're going to take this corner, outer corner, flip it basically right across like this. And it's going to still stay as triangle. And then you're going to flip this outer corner. Just flip it up like this. And it'll still keep that triangular shape. And then you take this outer corner, top outer corner, flip it straight across like this. And you'll have a little bit left at the end like this. Just flip that over. Now I'm going to brush it with olive oil again. Just a bit, both sides. And then I usually try to complete a square with these 2.5 triangles on the baking sheet. I'll do it again a third time. So if your oil is getting hot and you see some fumes coming from the oil, just take it off the burner for now. So fold it once, fold it twice, lift it off, set it on an angle, brush it with a bit of olive oil. Heaping tablespoon of the filling. Put it one on one end. You're going to take this outer top corner, fold it down, press it down, adjust the filling if you need to. Pat it down a bit. Grab the outer lower corner, flip it straight across. Grab the lower corner, flip it up. Grab the outer corner again, flip it straight across. And then you'll have this little piece here. Just flip it over, grab it with your thumb. Bit of olive oil. And on the baking sheet. Any questions? So keep going with that. Let's see if you can finish the filling. I'll continue with mine as well.
I have one
then-
question about
Sure.
if I have 2 pieces of phyllo, I'm having a hard time separating them.
That's fine. It'll just be a thicker shell. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So I'm sure everybody in every culture has some kind of dish with a filling in it, right? Whether it's a pierogi or whatever. And I think that's interesting that every culture has similar dishes with variations to it. And traditionally growing up, there'd be a dough shell with this and it'd be fried. And, you know, in India, there's a high incidence of diabetes and heart disease. And some of the best cardiac surgeons are actually in India. I think Dr. Kumar would attest to that. I'm not sure if he's on this class or not, but he used to be a cardiothoracic surgeon in India. And, you know, the rate of heart disease is pretty high there. So I kind of was thinking of healthier options given, you know, Indian genetics. So I thought about phyllo. And it seems to be lighter and I think healthier.
Ben says empanada.
There you go. I've never had empanada before, actually. Maybe Ben can make some sometime. Typical ingredients are not sweet potato, but it's something I kind of wanted to try. Sweet potato is much softer, so in this case, it's fine. But as my mom would say, it's probably not the best for the aloo tikki. And I like phyllo because you can put any filling in it. You can spanakopita, which is spinach, feta, and onions and garlic. I've made, sorry, I put tofu in it. I put banana Nutella in it. So it's lots of different options you can use with phyllo, and you can make whatever filling you want, basically. You can do sloppy joe, vegetarian sloppy joes in it, but you have to really dry that out. Otherwise, it's too wet and it'll just seep through the phyllo because it's so thin. But again, that's an option as well, basically. You can make a pizza pocket, but again, it has to be a dry sauce. Otherwise, it'll fall apart.
You're giving everyone good ideas.
I'm always thinking outside the box.
That could be the next cooking class.
What's that?
A
Pizza
series
pockets.
of phyllo treats.
I had to Google actually if somebody actually tried sweet potato samosas. And I did find a recipe for it, but I've never seen it in restaurants or in grocery stores or anything like that. So I'll take credit. How's everybody doing?
There's a reason some of us are family doctors and some of us are surgeons.
Can you expand on that comment?
I'm making a phyllo pockets. So I'm trying to make them triangles, but they kind of look like little pockets of love.
That's fine. I'm sure it'll still taste good. Yeah, some people just use potato filling without peas, but the common thing you see in samosas is potatoes and peas, and of course cumin seeds and spices, basically. So I used about 8 sheets. So I kind of predicted about 8 or 9 sheets with the amount of filling, basically. So I'll wait for the oven to heat up, and I think it's heated up. So I'm going to stick these in the oven, and you want to bake them until they're kind of light brown or brownish in terms of the cook on the phyllo, basically.
Labor Net says samosas are great. The other two dishes are great too, especially with the mixture of veggies.
Set that camera down there. Perfect. I can just switch it to here. So how's everybody? Everybody's got their phyllo in the oven?
Estimated time for a timer.
So one thing I've learned doing these cooking classes, one thing I had to learn was give measurements out, because when I cook, I don't measure things. I just go by feel, basically, and what I learned watching my mom cook. So even when I bake, I just periodically check in terms of whether it's browned or not, the phyllos, but I probably give it 15, 20 minutes and take a look. Yeah. Hopefully that's helpful. Phyllo left. I'm just going to wrap it up again. Yeah, that's fine. Any questions at all?
Matt says that, and that they're supposed to cook 22 minutes in regular oven. If that helps.
There you go. Yeah, it takes about 15, 20 minutes. I use convex because I like the kind of equal bake to it, but 15, 20 minutes because the phyllo's thin, so you've already cooked the potatoes in it, so the phyllo shouldn't take too long to cook.
Some people are having issues with the phyllo getting really sticky and everything.
Yeah, I've experienced that too. Sometimes if it's not thawed enough, that'll happen. But if you get 2 sheets, that's fine too. There'll just be a thicker crust around it.
This is a lot of fun.
How'd the food taste now? So samosa's common appetizer. I've put a twist on it to make it sort of lighter and healthier, and I've added sweet potato, which has different properties than regular potatoes in terms of nutrients and fiber and vitamin A. And you know, a lot of people like sweet potato fries as well, so that's where I kind of got the idea in terms of adding sweet potato to it.
Where are Hugo and Victor?
Hugo and Victor, I'll get Mike to swing the camera around. They are behaving well.
Natalie asks if there's a dip for samosas, pakoros, and how to keep it.
Good question. Good question. So common things, you know, ketchup tastes good with everything, basically. So growing up, we dip it in ketchup as kids. But you can make your own mint chutney. Maybe that could be a cooking class in terms of, you know, interesting dips and condiments and stuff. But this is a mint chutney, mint grown on my property. We mix it with onions, chilies, basically lime or lemon, kind of the Indian salsa. This is tamarind. It's a South Indian, basically, condiment. You can use it as a dip. You can put in a bit of yogurt and use that as a dip. So these are the 3 common things that we would use for dipping in terms of appetizers.
Can you send us those recipes after?
definitely. I didn't want to complicate the class too much, but yeah, I can certainly send those recipes for sure.
I used tzatziki.
Tzatziki's good too.
There's a salad dressing called Greek Goddess.
How's everybody? Good?
Everyone would like a dip class.
A what class?
A dip class.
A condiment class? Yeah, no problem.
Good for next step.
So
Smiles, good.
here's my oil. So I'm just going to test it with a bit of batter. So see how it rose to the top. So that means it's hot enough. So I'm going to just turn it down to medium high. I'm actually going to get my mom to come and do the frying because I don't fry a lot. And she's probably a better expert than I am in terms of frying. So my mom, this is where I learned all the cooking, watching her. Certainly I don't follow everything. Of course, not all kids follow what their parents do, but certainly inspired me in terms of the cooking. And I'm always, again, thinking outside the box. How can I do variations of the cooking? So she'll teach you how to fry, basically. Okay. Want to say hi, Mom? Wait.
You have to do a full play-by-play on this.
I will. So the oil should be kind of medium high. I've already tested it, and once the batter kind of floats quite quickly, then you know it's hot enough. But you don't want it to stay on high because then the ingredients won't cook, especially the potatoes. So you want to turn it down to medium high, and then typically you can use a tongue or you can use your hand. So my mom traditionally would just take a handful and just put it in there. Again, this was a staple growing up in terms of appetizers. And you can see why there's so much heart disease and diabetes in India because of the frying. Even though the ingredients are relatively healthy, and the batter is pretty healthy. It's just the frying, and once in a while it's fine. But in India, of course, it's every day, right? So.
What should we put this on after it's done frying?
So basically, you can put it on a baking sheet if you have it with a bit of paper towel, so it soaks a bit of the oil after it's kind of fried. Or you can put it in a little basket that's draining the oil a bit, right? Correct. So the veggie, the potato, the spinach, the onions, the jalapenos, you just grab a handful and just dunk it in there.
My veggies aren't sticking together.
Is your batter too thin? Sometimes that'll happen if your batter's not too thin. It's too thin.
Should the veggies be like a patty or at least?
Just grab a random handful or a random tongueful of it.
How long are they being cooked for?
You want to cook them until they're kind of evenly brown, basically. So probably 5 to 7 minutes, maybe.
Are you doing the veggies and the potatoes together?
So the potatoes are the diced potatoes and not the filling potatoes. So basically, we're using these potatoes that we diced, basically. We diced the potatoes. We're using these diced potatoes, basically, not the filling potato.
Larry wants to know if these recipes are compatible with low polyp diets.
Low polyp diets? The only thing against the frying is it's unhealthy for many systems in the body. But everything in moderation. So if you do this once every couple of months, it's fine.
Some people have a bit of a disaster in their pants. They didn't stick together at all.
Ah, so the batter is probably too thin. Or the oil wasn't too hot enough.
My work once it was in there, it would stick together.
So even if they didn't stick together, they're still good to eat. Anything fried is good to eat, right? So a bit about the spices. Fenugreek is a common thing we use. We use fenugreek leaves a lot in a lot of dishes. If we make stir-fried potatoes, if we make flatbreads, if we make pakoras, in reality, any herb, veggies, or spices have a lot of good properties to it in terms of anti-inflammatory, healing, etc., etc. If there's any men out there, fenugreek is known to maybe increase testosterone and sperm count. That's a side tidbit. It has an interesting taste to it as well. Basically, this is what it should look like. Basically, this is how brown it should be. Basically, just like frying a fish.
Someone's asking about the gluten-free
Yes.
travel option.
Yes.
Now.
What are they using for the shell?
How did anyone find fenugreek? Where did you buy it? Someone's confirming how long the samosas are going in for.
15-20 minutes, I think you said. But periodically check it. Once the follow's kind of gone brown, then you can turn the oven off, basically. So for this recipe, I used basil just because somebody asked, or people couldn't get dried fenugreek. And basil is another good option. It's a mild kind of spice when it's dry and in a leaf form, dried leaf form, versus a fresh basil, which can have a stronger taste for sure. But the dried leaf basil is pretty mild in that sense. For those people whose veggies fell apart, did the batter still stay on it when you fried it? Yeah.
Some people's samosas are done already.
Oh, good. I should check mine now. Oh, yeah. A few more minutes. For those people whose veggies fell apart, don't worry, I've been through that many times as well. It takes a lot of practice to get it kind of right. And of course, eating these fresh is always the best because you get the crispness from them.
Flip over the samosas.
If you're using convex bake, no. If you're not, then you can flip it over. But it shouldn't have to flip it over.
If they do fall apart, does this mean we need more batter to hold it together or cut smaller pieces?
My pieces were relatively big. I don't think they were small, but it's probably a combination of the batter not being thick enough to stick together. I always found the batter difficult or challenging to make because you have to get sort of that right consistency where it sticks to the veggies but holds it together, but it's not too thin or too thick either that it kind of you get a thick coating on it. People's recipes fails, they can come over and just grab some from here. This is what they kind of should look like, basically. They're just random shapes, basically, you know, full of color and ready to eat. I could probably eat a whole tray of these if I wanted.
Kristen Graham said it stayed and they'll be right over.
Perfect. You can use kale too, instead of spinach. It's not the same family as well, so. Again, thinking outside the box. In India, they probably wouldn't use kale. Spinach would be common.
What type of oil are you using?
This one's a combination of canola and olive. Olive oil is not the best to fry with. Of course, vegetables are pretty good, but not the healthiest either. How's everybody doing? Pretty good?
Even though it looks like it's faster in the pan, it's
That's typically the case. Even if it doesn't stick together, it's still coated a bit and all the spices and stuff are in it, right?
a lot of taste testing going on.
We'll get Mike to taste that one too.
I can take one.
Yeah, take one.
I'll put my hand in front of the camera.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna find my mic on mute.
Someone else's dogs are going crazy, I think is the result of it.
Sorry, that was my neighbor picking up some food. See, it's a good benefit to be my neighbor. There's always food being handed out.
Delicious, by the way.
Ah, Mike Monahan approves. Everybody okay with this step? We'll go on to the aloo tikki for a couple, and then people can continue cooking the rest of the appetizers. And again, you can use whatever veggies you want, but these are kind of typical veggies we use: onions, potatoes, basically jalapenos or chilies, and spinach.
People are asking to give them a few more minutes for veggies.
Sounds good. Aloo tikki minutes. We're gonna make those first. We'll give it a few minutes.
You want the get roll?
I can switch it. It's on there. Nope. 1 second. You're still finishing this. Just 1 second. Well, let me know when you guys are ready for the third appetizer. This is probably the trickiest one because you're using the filling and you're putting it in batter. So it's always a challenge to keep it together, basically. So the batter has to be thick enough that I'll coat it and then you can fry it. So the apron my mom's wearing, you can see it, was made by my friend Adam Vaughn from AV Designs, and he made 5 for me. So there'll be a prize for the next few cooking classes. My Instagram handle is Sizzle and Seek, and then that's where you made the apron with that name, basically. And the story behind Sizzling Sikh, so Sikh, it's pronounced Sikh, which is the faith or the religion origin in India. Sizzling, in my year of training in Hamilton as a surgery resident, a bunch of friends and I went to a restaurant called Sizzle in Hamilton. And from that day on, they call me the Sizzling Sikh. So the key to anything is the prep. The prep is good. The cooking is not that bad, actually. Basically, this is what your samosa, fala samosa should look like. Okay. And I usually let it cool and then go at it basically. How's everybody doing? Any commentary, Mike?
It's I can't remember what it's called, but it's delicious.
Pakoras? Yeah.
But I'm anxious to see what's going to happen here. So this is going to be. Can we talk about it before we do it? Is it going to be a patty?
Basically, it's like a crab cake, but it's like potato cake, and again, use the same kind of batter
Right.
as the pakoras. Yeah.
And it's going to sink into the.
Fryer. Yeah, basically. But the challenging part is this is not really. It's kind of mush, right?
Right.
So sometimes I'll cook the potatoes to like 90%, right? Or 95%, and then keep the mixture like that. You don't want to overcook them, otherwise it becomes mush, right?
Right.
When you break them down, you don't want to really whip them. You just want to break the potatoes down so they're smaller pieces.
This was very filling.
This?
Yeah. Like how much could you eat of that? Couple of pieces?
4 or 5.
Oh, really? Okay.
Whole plate.
Whole plate, basically.
To be on the healthy side, I'm just having one.
Perfect. You ready?
Sounds like it. People are dipping into their reports already.
Okay. So we'll go to the last step, which is the aloo tikki. We'll make a couple of these to show you. This is probably the hardest one because of the texture of it. Again, sweet potatoes is soft, a bit softer than regular potatoes. So this even challenged my mom when I tested basically last week. And let's see how she does with this one. So you make a little patty, probably this size of the palm basically. And then you just dip it in your batter. Just roll it around a bit. It's going to fall apart. See if it works. So again, the oil has to be hot enough where it kind of fries the batter and keeps it together basically. So you can see it stayed together because the oil was hot enough and it kind of cooked the batter. Challenging my mom, that's always good. Get her outside of her box as well in terms of cooking. It's kind of going to look similar to your pakoras. And it's going to be just basically an outer shell of the potato filling. Like I said, this is probably the most challenging one because of the consistency. So you want to try it next time without having challenges, don't use sweet potato because it's much softer potato than the russet potato or any other potato. Or don't cook it fully. That's the other option. The good thing is potatoes are already cooked mostly, so these ones only a long time to fry basically. These are my favorite actually. You should get about 4 or 5 out of the remaining potato filling, whether you save 1 or 2 cups. You should get at least 2 patties, 2.5 patties out of 1 cup, basically. And again, the sky is the limit. You can use any filling and use the chickpea batter and fry it, basically.
Fat, could you finish it off in the oven?
You could sear it and then bake it. But the thing is, potatoes are already cooked, right? So really, it's only a couple of minutes in the oil. It wouldn't really make sense to finish it in the oven. If the potatoes were not cooked, you could fry it, right? And then put it in the oven to complete the baking of the potatoes and fry. So say if you cook the potatoes 50%, kind of mash them up in little smaller pieces, coated them in the batter, fried them a bit, and then bake them, that's fine too. You mean they didn't wait for me? This is kind of the final product for the aloo tikki, we call it. Tikki is like a patty, basically. Again, you can eat it with ketchup, you can eat it with hot sauce, tzatziki. You can use Greek yogurt and add spices to it and dip it in that. So lots of options in terms of the dips. So how's everything tasting? Everybody have any questions at all? Everybody's too busy eating? I hope you enjoyed the class. These are the common appetizers we use in our Indian cuisine. Good for the summer, that's why I wanted to teach this class. You can make these over the summer, get together with friends, hopefully getting on to the other stages of COVID restrictions. And these are very enjoyable. There's a variety of vegetables, a variety of ingredients for the filling. Yeah. It's a pleasure teaching again, and thank you for your participation, and thank you for donating for a good cause. And we'll see you again sometime in December.
All right, I'm just going to hop on here real quick. I just want to say once again, thank you, Dr. Singh, for sharing with us your culinary talents and delighting us with your creativity for a third time. We're grateful for the donations you've inspired through the cooking class and for doubling their impact for the surgical care fund at the hospital. We are definitely interested in any feedback or suggestions anyone may have for any future cooking classes, so please feel free to email me those questions, any of the feedback or questions, as well as any of your photos from cooking today. I'm going to say thank you and good night. I'm going to pass it back over to Dr. Singh, and he'll continue to answer any questions that you might have for the next little bit. Thanks again, and have a great night, and enjoy your meal.